The following may contain offensive language, adult humor, and or content that some viewers may find offensive. The views and opinions expressed by any one speaker does not explicitly or necessarily reflect or represent those of Mark Radulich or W2M Network. Please listen with caution, or don't listen at all.
Hooray for Hollywood, where stars are living large, in mansions with their servants and their credit cards in charge, with fame that's fleeting, but the egos never change, where everyone's a genius, except the ones who really arrange. Hooray for Hollywood, where the scandals always sell, where every whispered secret is a new tabloid's tell. Oh, how we adore the endless red carpet galore. Hooray for Hollywood, where less is always more.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you are listening to a Radulich and Broadcasting premiere podcast. I'm off. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you are listening to a Radulich and Broadcasting premiere podcast. Damn you, Hollywood. And here's your host. 5 years older than I. He was my brother. 23 years old the day he died. Ladies and gentlemen, he's your cousin. He's the beef. He's the bear. He's Robert Winfrey. Yay!
I don't understand the references.
There were two distinct ones there.
Didn't get either of them.
Would you like me to unpack them?
Yes, please. While you fix the upper right hand doohickey, because we've got the wrong one up there.
Yes, sir. Propriety is the thing. We must have order. There we go.
Indeed.
So half of that was Simon and Garfunkel. He was my brother. For some odd reason, well, here's the thing. So I've been catching up on the Bear season 4 because we're reviewing it Wednesday. So I've got that stuck in my head. Yeah. Well, you know, they call each other cousin, right? And I just got done with the 9.5 hour episode of The Wedding. My God, not since The Deer Hunter have I seen a wedding this long.
I feel like Heaven's Gate has a longer wedding sequence than The Deer Hunter, but I could be mistaken.
This felt like it was shot in real time, and I've actually worked weddings before. So anyway, so I've got that in my head. So that thus the, cousin, he's the beef because name of the restaurant, and he's the bear, name of the show, name of the restaurant. But also, like the picture at the end of that episode, it's the entire cast of characters, and it just says the Bears underneath, and it's right after that whole bit where the chick from Community was like, I thought in the divorce I would lose my family, and you can see I don't actually have a family. You guys are kind of it. And, Oliver Platt's like, you poor gal.
Oliver Platt really is maybe the best character in that show.
By far. The point is, they all started referring to each other as the Bears for whatever the reasons are. So I was like, okay, that, because it's on my mind, I'll use that to reference Robert tonight. But because I was thinking cousin, I have a beautiful mind. I was thinking cousin, and cousin tripped the Simon and Garfunkel song, He Was My Brother. So I was like, I should look it up really quick. And I'm like, well, this isn't funny. This is kind of sad. I'm going to do it anyway because I'm committed now.
That's appropriate for this show, this episode in particular.
Yeah, well, God, yeah. The actual line is, he was my brother 5 years older than I. He was my brother 23 years old the day he died. And then it goes on for like 2 more verses. I almost started with, they shot my brother dead, but you're sitting right here. So like I had to kind of, I can't start with you dying.
I do have a gun thing on my shirt, so it kind of works.
So anyway, that's where your completely awkward and forced and hackneyed intro came from. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did.
Sure.
All right. What are we talking about tonight, Turkey? What are we talking about tonight, Turkey?
Oh, God help us. We're talking about I Know What You Did Last Summer, not the original 1997.
You know what I did last summer, Robert Winfrey? What did I do?
You wouldn't shut up about it, so yes. I'm very aware of what you did last summer. More so than most, and I'm still here.
I continue to do those things, I'll have you know. Anyway.
That surprises me not at all. What was it the last time you said something like, "Oh no, I'm a quiet man. I don't need to be."
I have considerably quieted down.
And I just said, your history of naked karaoke seems to speak to the opposite.
I know where you swam naked last summer. It's a 2025 American slasher film.
I do, and I kind of hate that I have that address in my head now.
Directed by Jennifer Kaytin Robinson, who co-wrote the screenplay with Sam Lansky, from a story by Leah McKendrick. You poor
They all
bastards.
suck.
It is the fourth installment of the I Know What You Did Last Summer franchise, and the sequel
Sort of.
to I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, You Filthy Animals, You. The film stars Madelyn Cline, not that Madelyn Cline,
Unfortunately.
Sui Wonders, Jonah Hauer. I don't believe these are real names.
No one. Look, these are the most like. I hate to say it this way, so I apologize. These are the most Gen Z California names in history.
Yeah,
apart from not naming someone Justice.
These feel like AI made up. Anyway, it also brings back, unfortunately, Freddie Prinze Jr. and
His
Jennifer.
face looks like a catcher's mitt. I told you the guys this last week, and it almost killed Benjamin J. Cologne.
Sarah Michelle Gellar and Brandy from the first two films respectively appear in cameos. The plot takes place 27 years after the Tower Bay murders, when another hook-wielding killer appears and begins targeting a group of friends 1 year after they covered up a car crash in which they supposedly killed someone. It premiered at the United Theater on Broadway in Los Angeles on July 14, 2025, and was released theatrically by Sony Pictures, once a former studio. In the United States on July 18th, received mixed reviews, wouldn't you know?
At best.
So, this is not the worst movie I've seen this year. It's not good. It's not good, but sorry, the comment about this is in reference to what you just said about Freddie Prinze Jr. Be nice, they aged in real time. Fair enough. Anyway,
you're saying he has not aged all that gracefully, is all I'm saying.
Somehow learned to act, though, which he did not know how to do in the first movie.
He spent a lot of time in pro wrestling, and I think that rubbed off on him a little bit.
That'll do it. Anyway, where I was going with this, I've had a worse time at the movies early, this year than at this one. This one was this one so far gets the award for most unintentionally funny to me. I mean, I was laughing to the point where my girlfriend actually elbowed me at one point. Like, what are you laughing at? Like Ronnie Adams. What are you laughing at? What are you laughing at? I was like dying.
Is this close to being a reboot of the Scary Movie franchise?
I had a very similar thought. I was like, if I didn't know any better,
yeah,
this seems like a satire of the slasher film. So I was having just a grand old time hooting and laughing at this thing. It is so obviously geared towards Gen Z, and so obviously very early 2020s in terms of like, aren't all men just terrible? Aren't women awesome? Kind of a thing that I was like.
The line is actually spoken in this movie. Think about how much of this could have been avoided if men would just go to therapy.
Yeah, that's my point. And I laughed hard at that line, not because it's good, but because it made, and I said this on my TikTok, it made the girls get it done scene from The Boys seem sincere by comparison.
A little bit.
So that's why I was laughing the entire time. But I went to Fancy, and I said, Fancy, we need to have a conversation for TikTok purposes. And I was like, I need to know about the timeline of development of this movie, because how could it be this off pitch from where we are now in 2025, where this is exactly the sort of thing which people will avoid? And I also was thinking about like Gen Z as movie consumers. Like, I don't think Gen Z goes to the movies. They seem to be the streaming at home crowd. So why would you make a movie for theatrical exhibition? All right, I'm going to put this up here. She's going to do this all through the podcast, but occasionally she puts up a line that I have to advertise. Imagine men saying this about women. Sounds so outlandish.
But if you call a woman crazy, that's just reductive, Mark.
Indeed. Listen. So I was thinking about like Gen Z's movie consumerism. Like, do they go to the movies? So if Gen Z doesn't go to the movies, why would you make a movie geared towards them that is very anti-man? Which I don't have. I don't have a problem with that. I want to be clear about this. So before anyone understands where I'm going with this, I don't care if you make an anti-man movie. I do care that you make money. This is important to me. And if you're going to make an anti-man movie for a movie-going crowd, you need to gear it towards that crowd. And Gen Z is not the people going to the movie. Gen X goes to the movies. That would be it. My group of people.
And then look, the millennials got their man-hating movie out of the way with Barbie, and they just don't need another one.
So I was like, I don't understand how this movie got made and then released theatrically. Like, this should have gone straight to streaming. Like, if it had been made straight for Netflix, we wouldn't be having this conversation, nor we would have seen the movie.
Also true.
But what Fancy told me, and I thought this was interesting, is that this was all like greenlit, and this was made by algorithm. It should have worked. The problem was it missed the window where people who like this sort of thing would have gone to the movies to see it. Also, again, the people who are most likely to see a movie like this aren't likely to see it in the movies. They're like this will probably do great on streaming.
Great's a strong word, but it will find a bit of an audience there that it does not find.
There's a conversation that you and I need to have, in an entire show, maybe even dedicated to it, of stuff that missed in the theater but found a home on streaming. So, like,
I'm happy to have that.
So, like, and I don't want to necessarily go off on a tangent here, but like Snow White, for example, obviously bombed hard, as it should have. But I guess, and I don't know this for absolute certain, so please let's not get into a 12-hour argument about it. But my understanding is that it actually did really well on Disney Plus. Well, people didn't have to pay for it.
It didn't. How do I phrase this? Did well on Disney Plus is a bit of an abstract talking point that they threw out there. It was started a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I imagine a bunch of people with just morbid curiosity, but that's not quite the same thing as finding an audience. There's, because we have done this with a couple of Netflix movies that have wound up on Netflix too, where like we reviewed it. Some of them we were even moderately positive about, and they just like flatlined at the box office.
Right.
And then they show up on Netflix, and a bunch of people go, "Wow, this is actually pretty good." And you and I are stuck going.
The John David Washington movie, The Creator. That I think is a really good example of a movie that we gushed over. Nobody saw it, but it found a second life on streaming.
And there was a time in the history of the entertainment business when that would have been greeted with a second wave of revenue from tape or DVD sales.
Right. Austin Powers being, I think, like the best example of this, of a movie that did not. The original Austin Powers movie, as legend tells, did not do well in theaters. It had a second life. It had a second life on DVD. That is how it got its sequel.
I mean, if you want another example of that, believe it or not, the original Wizard of Oz was a giant failure at the box office. On home video was where it found its audience, where it found its life, and where it became a classic. But if you just look at its theatrical returns, they're nothing to write home about.
Right. So rounding this back to I know what you did last summer, 2025, and getting on with the plot synopsis. I don't fault the intention of them. Like, you want to make a movie for Gen Z, make a movie for Gen Z. Like, if you don't make stuff for younger people will not become older people who have any kind of attachment to things. My problem is, as you get younger and younger, you're finding more and more of the long tail fracturing any kind of joint cultural experiences. This isn't something we haven't said before. We've said it a million times. But it goes to... It's funny that Fancy was like... Because my contention was that this was all wrong and shouldn't have happened. And Fancy was like, no, it should have. This is exactly what the algorithm told them to make. They obeyed Master Control. Master Control said, make this movie this way. And they said yes. However... they missed the boat when it would have been relevant is the real problem here. So like where I stand personally is I think you do have to make movies like this, and I think you do have to make them for younger audiences. My problem is you get down to like my kids' age. Like if it wasn't for the fact that I drag my kids to the movies, they wouldn't see most of this stuff. So like how do you turn Lily, who's 14, into somebody who will have nostalgia for something 20 years from now? Like, how do you create attachment to IP the way that millennials and Gen X are, and to a lesser extent these days the boomers?
Apparently, the answer is the Crow remake.
Oh, it hurts.
I wish I was joking.
All right. Do you have anything else to add to this? I don't want to beat a dead horse.
I think just to say the following. We have lost a lot recently.
Of hair, of youth, of muscle.
Well, hang on. First of all, this point is correct. Like, this is a Gen X nostalgia bait, but you wrote it for Gen Z. Like, who is this pleasing?
Right.
But okay, let me put it this way. Mark, were the 1950s distinct from the 1960s? I know you weren't around for this, but just bear with me.
For the sake of this conversation, I'm going to say yes, teacher.
Were the 60s distinct from the 70s?
Oh, God, yes.
Were the 70s distinct from the 80s?
Get to your point.
We stopped having that around 2005. Is there... Somebody brought this up the other day, and it's really kind of... it's been kicking around the back of my head. Watch any, like, random episode of The Office.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything to tell you that that show was made in, like, the late aughts, early teens?
I get the point that you're making, and I don't disagree with you. My one small counter to a fraction of the point that you're making, and then we'll move on, is when I hear people speak in Gen Alpha or maybe late Gen Z speak, they say things like Riz and real something. I've heard people do this on TikTok.
They stop sounding like people.
I don't know what happened to me or the language or the culture or some combination of all three, but the young people sound like aliens speaking a different language. I used to be hip. I used to be able to follow this stuff. I can't anymore. And I speak street. And I can't follow the youngsters anymore.
You speak 80s street.
90s street. I speak 90s street.
Okay, 90s. That's fair. Well, anyway, my point there was no. All I see is two L's. That's all I see.
Shut up. You don't have to address it, but I feel like I should leave that up there for a while.
You know, Mark, this got brought up about me because I technically fall into the millennial age category.
Yeah.
But the way I was raised, I am spiritually and in a lot of other ways more Gen X than anything.
Yeah, that's why we get along as well as we do.
I feel like you are spiritually a boomer.
No, I'm spiritually the greatest generation.
Skip that one and go back to wanting to storm the beaches in the Pacific.
I feel like spiritually I was brought up in the Great Depression, and I hang on to a library full of can of peas. Just cans of peas everywhere.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, this is my girlfriend's opinion on the matter.
I do not qualify for that, and I understand that for some reason we've attached moderate use of language and intellectualism to the boomers, and this is a mistake because
so Gen Alpha and Gen Z, I can't fucking make heads or tails of the half of the shit they say.
Yeah, it can be a little rough.
Which is why watching this movie was both hilarious and alien to me. It felt like I was at a foreign film where they spoke broken English.
I can see that. I didn't quite have that problem with it, but yeah, I can see it.
All right, make with the plot synopsis, monkey.
All right, so...
Oh, by the way, you have to do it in 3 minutes.
Predictably, we open with a group of moderately attractive post-high school people because we can't do these about teenagers anymore for some reason. These old high school friends all get together at one of their engagement parties. They all drive up to a narrow, sharp hairpin turn in the road to watch the fireworks. Few of them, drunk and or high, dance in the street. and a car swerves to avoid them, and it crashes through the barricade and winds up plunging off the cliff, and everyone goes, oh no, whatever shall we do? No, whatever.
Wait, 1, 2, ready? 1, 2, 3.
Oh!
Heavens to Betsy!
Heavens to Murgatroyd.
Thank you.
So the young, attractive people all decide, you know what? Let's call the rich guy's dad, and he will fix this, and we will all just go on about our lives as though nothing happened, because, you see, there's some dubious legality here about what happened. So they all head off. They all decide we shall never speak of the shortcut again. And then we fast forward 1 year, because it's I Know What You Did Last Summer, not this summer. So 1 year later, everyone's a little bit depressed. That particular engagement did not pan out. We all reconvene back in the town of Southport for another a bridal shower, because now the same girl who got engaged before is engaged to somebody else, and she gets the card that says, I know what you did last summer, because we're doing a thing. And then the tension and the bodies start to fall. Her new fiance is violently murdered in their home. There's a podcast girl who gets attacked while trying to sort of guide one of these girls around, and then she dies. And the town's like, no, this was a tragic accident. She clearly just committed suicide. But we can't say suicide, so we say she just intended to self-harm, and I just wanted to put my head through this chair in front of me.
At least they didn't say unalive.
That's coming. Have you seen that, by the way? Like, somebody actually put on the blurb for Kurt Cobain that he unalived himself, like at a museum.
I hate this timeline. We should not be descending into TikTok speak.
We really shouldn't, especially when there's no threat of advertisers being pulled. More importantly, I don't care if they do, because we don't do this for profit. So they die. Then the douchebag. Yeah, well, then the guy then Milo, who's the milquetoast of this one, he gets strangled and his neck broken.
Because nothing shall be unsaid in this movie. Nothing shall be implied. It should be stated outright. This is super text the movie. At one point, the podcast girl says, "Hey, you're sufficiently beta."
Indeed.
That was another snort coke out of my nose moment for me.
Again, if you go into this with the right attitude, this is hilarious.
Oh yeah, I was having the time of my life.
I'm glad you were. So then our other guy and his father die because reasons, and Freddie Prinze Jr. has showed back up because he's still here, and he's like, it's happening again. He's that guy. And one of our one brunette lead goes to talk with Jennifer Love Hewitt because you survived this before, and can I please get advice? And she goes, we're not quite in a Scream movie here. We're a lot closer than we should be. And provides said advice, and then everyone sort of reconvenes, and there's a few red herrings about suspects, and it turns out it was the one girl whose life kind of fell apart because she knew the guy that drove off the cliff, and now she's after revenge, and she went for help to Freddie Prinze Jr., who's been the muscle behind almost all of this. And there's a big fight through the bar, and she shoots Freddie Prinze Jr. through the chest with a harpoon gun because somebody played way too much Dead by Daylight. And there's a killer who has that gun, and it's a thing. And then it turns out that, well, because the other girl, whose name escapes me, Danica, she was gutted, like a fish, by a hook. Washes up the restorative power of the ocean, closes the wound. She washes up and says, take me to a hospital. And the two of them are okay, and they go, well, Stevie is still alive out there. Oh, yeah, we should totally go kill her. Somehow they blame this all on men. And then we flash away to Brandy, and I wanted to throw something because she's from the second movie, and she sucks. And Jennifer Love Hewitt goes to her and says, I got this note. It's not over yet. And they've through the power of Girls Get It Done, will be exacting more vengeance in the sequel, because this is totally going to do well enough to justify a sequel, right?
Alrighty. So,
movie sucks.
oh boy. There are parts of this I absolutely hated. For example, in the original that I just did a podcast on, they, if I remember correctly, they hit a guy in the road.
Yeah.
And they think he's dead. Turns out he's not dead. But they go to just dispose of the body, and he's not dead. And like, with this point, they are, dug in. They have to follow through. And a year later, they are dealing with the trauma and the guilt and the moral ambiguity of what they've done. And that's what the movie is about. I know what you did last summer, the original 1997 movie, works because of those elements.
It also does a pretty decent job of building paranoia and tension.
Yeah. This one does away with all of that. Does away with the moral ambiguity. Does away with hitting a guy in the road. What happens is Hunky McDouchebag is standing in the middle of the road and he's going to fight a car. And so as to swerve and not hit him, the person...
Well, that's the first car that he gets pulled out of the way of. Then the second car is the one. There's a lot of that in this movie.
Okay.
There's a lot of, okay, here comes the thing. Oh, the thing didn't do what you were expecting, aren't you? Now your guard's down. And now here's the thing. And it's really dumb.
Okay. The second car swerved on the tight corner and went over the cliff. And they tried to...
They tried to save him.
Sorry, I'm distracted by comments. They tried to save him. They tried to save the car. The doors are jammed because that's what happens when cars are impacted. Suddenly, it turtles up. They can't get the doors open. They can't get the truck from going over the cliff. So the truck just falls over. And they're like, what do we do? See, here's the thing. In the first movie, in the original I Know What You Did Last Summer, in case anyone's confused with what I'm talking about, there's the we hit a guy. We might get brought up on manslaughter charges, and all of our futures are, this is what drives them to do what they do, is they are standing on the precipice of good old-fashioned upper white-class success, and they might blow it, and so, they're paranoid about, what's going to happen to them, and that's why they make the decision that they do. Here, all of that agency gets taken from them. Now this really was just an accident. And had Woody gone to the police, none of this would have ever happened. And they wouldn't have gotten, why are you in the road? Who the fuck knows or cares? Somebody swerved and lost control of their car. It happens.
We were pulled off to the side of the road. We were watching the fireworks. This guy came out and lost control of his car and fell and drove off the cliff.
Right.
We observed this.
So all of the...
They're not going to check your sobriety levels for this, guys. Especially this police force, which is apparently just the wrong side of the Springfield cops.
I was going to say, this is the Gotham PD pre-Batman.
These people are... I genuinely think the cops in The Simpsons are more competent than these idiots.
So I hate this because all of the things that make the first movie really, really good and give the characters depth such as it is are absent from this movie. The fact that they're making a big deal over what to do doesn't really match the event itself.
Not at all.
That's a big problem I have because your entire movie is built on this. The second thing, I'm not mad this is anti-guy. I really am not. Things cannot be for me. Things can have a direct point of view. I said this about Halloween Kills. I've said this about Halloween Kills multiple times. I don't care what your perspective is, just have one. And if your perspective is aren't men terrible, fine. I wish I had known that going in. I would have been better prepared for it, but I'm fine with this idea.
I would have been much more prepared to laugh at you.
However, what was the point of tearing down the Freddie Prinze Jr. character and making him evil for no good reason? They don't give him his thing. If you're going to make this about he's angry at Jennifer Love Hewitt for being, for not being able to deal with her own trauma and ruining their marriage, then make that fucking movie, which would have been much more interesting.
There's a lot of ways you could take that kind of character, and they skim surface level of 18 options, and none of them stick. And on the one hand, he's like, the entire town just wants to pretend that what happened to us didn't happen. Okay, maybe you can do something with that. And in the same breath, oh, and they're tearing down the marina, so now I'm anti-gentrification, because that's something that the kids care about, right?
By the way,
and then it goes to
when they got into the whole like we got to cover this up, it'll ruin tourism. Did you not want to get up and scream? They're doing a Jaws. That's a Jaws.
Yeah, kinda.
Fucking Amity Island over here. Continue. I had to yell that at you, but go ahead.
Even that one in Jaws makes sense. Like,
well, of course it made sense in Jaws.
It's well written. Yeah, this one is not.
Dude, it makes sense in the fucking Meg too. You know, or just
more or less, yeah.
I mean, granted, it's kind of an after the fact thing. That's not what the movie's about. But there's this big implication at the end of the Meg that if they don't do something about this big fucking dinosaur fish soon, all of these poor people in China are gonna die. And it builds up tension, and you as an audience member who don't know anything about these people and don't give a fig are made to care because you've spent at least a sufficient amount of time with the poor Chinaman on the beach before the Meg gets them. That's not even here. Like, if you're going to do a Jaws, do a Jaws. Don't point at it from 100 yards and then not do it.
Yeah, that's a potential one. Again, his history of like being bitter at his ex-wife being the reason he turned bad. You could have done something with that. Your entire perspective is anti-man. Let him be the like bitter ex-husband whose life was ruined. Yeah. But no, we can't actually commit to any of this. So instead, he's just generically angry at things, some of which are tangentially related to things that people on Twitter talk about.
He's motivated to partake in multiple homicides because he's a madman. Not a madman, a mad pregnant pause, a Sean Comer-esque pregnant pause. Man, he's an angry man. That's what he is. That's his whole motivation. And here's the thing. I have this problem with the WWE. Why do we bring back the legends just so somebody can push their face in someone else's ass or they can be humiliated? Like, this was very much a Vince McMahon thing where he had to take every legend that needed a paycheck and utterly humiliate them. And, like, come on. As the late Larry Zonko would say, leave the memories alone. I don't mind that Freddie Prinze Jr. is in this. I don't even mind that he's the bad guy by the end of this movie. But you skip an entire movie full of reasons why he should be the bad guy just to say at the very end he's bad because he's a man, which I get works for some people. Not enough to make a successful movie. Works perfectly fine if you're going to throw this on a streaming service somewhere, though.
Even then, it's pretty bad.
Of course it is, but but the fact that it's bad wouldn't take away from the fact that if it was on a streaming service, there would be enough angry people out there who don't like men to be like, this is fine with me, I don't care.
There's also a real lack of like intrigue and tension around who the killer is in this movie, and it really annoyed me.
Mm-hmm.
Because of course, look, I can tell you when I figured it out, and you're welcome to. I figured it out as soon as the stupid podcast girl like took the guy's hat off when she's being killed and goes, "You." So here's why I knew at that point who it was. Because you can count on one hand the number of characters in this movie that character has interacted with. It's not Ava, because she's our point of view character. There's textual and subtextual reasons it's not Milo, who's the other character of our group that she knows. So it's someone related to all of this that is famous enough for what she does for her to recognize. That leaves
That's how you deduced it was Freddie Prinze Jr.?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because who else in this stupid town is this person going to recognize and have a reaction to?
Wrap up your point really quickly because I have to talk about Jennifer Love Hewitt.
So, point being, there's no real like mystery around who the killer is. It becomes fairly obvious fairly quickly if you know what you're looking for. The kills are not all that great. Which is a real
Yeah, they suck. Let me stop you there.
Go ahead.
So, the star of this thing is supposed to be Ava. In fact, if you look at the cast list, first person on the cast list is Madelyn Cline, not that Madelyn Cline, as Danica Richards. She's the blonde.
Yeah.
And then and then second to her is Chase Sui Wonders, who is Ava Brooks. So you could kind of go either way as both of them as your POV character. But if you're sticking with your final girl, your point of view character should be the brunette, because this is a legacy genre Scream sequel, then it's Ava. Except that they took away the opportunity to make Ava her own character and stand out and be a real Scream queen, and pivoted to Old Faithful. We're gonna throw salt in the eyes, and we're gonna take the title off Bret Hart, and Bret Hart's gonna say, "Go, Hulk Hogan, go!" And Hulk Hogan's gonna drop the big boot, the big leg on Yokozuna, who was Jennifer Love Hewitt in that scene. And and right down to she had to get her shit in. She had to get her, she literally cups her hands, cups her ear, and says, "What you gonna do when the largest arms in the world run wild on you?" She literally, forcefully, stupidly says, "What are you waiting for?"
Because we have to recreate the famous scene from the first one.
Right. That's why I'm making the Bret Hart Hulk Hogan thing. Because again, you're supposed to be crowning this other girl who you've drilled holes into. She should be the one going, "What are you waiting for?" And you know what this reminded me of? But not quite. But it had that same, empty feel to it. Robert Winfrey, take my hand and cross the bridge back to a few months ago when we watched and reviewed a little movie called Alien Romulus.
Yes, we did.
And there's a bit in the movie where the black robot,
the synthetic humanoid, goes, "Get away from her,
you bitch.
You bitch."
And we all said, and poor Echo Chamberlain stripped himself naked and ran through the streets of London, and the critical drinker shot himself, poor man. And
it was only in the hand, so I was like...
As everyone was like, "You've missed the entire context of that line."
Yep.
Look, I could get on this podcast, say something witty, don't I always, and it'll be properly forgotten because it has no context. It's, it was funny in a moment, but it doesn't mean anything. However, if you build a world around a particular line and then you deliver that line, then it has staying power. Absent of that, there is no staying power. That line has no power. So Jennifer Love Hewitt, with her male gazy half shirt on, screaming, "What are you waiting for?" was like, we built up to that. Ripley, "Get away from her, you bitch," had a whole thing building up to that. When you do it without those things, it's so empty, and it's so purposely fucking what's the word I'm looking for here? Intellectually dishonest? Just
it is
barren of intellectual heft.
There's you brought up the critical drinker, so he released a video earlier today, another one of his entry in the "Why Modern Movies Suck" thing.
They still doing those?
On occasion.
Okay.
This one kind of, I don't watch all of the other extraneous stuff he does, but this one was short, and this one was, the sort of thesis of this one was, modern movies kind of aren't good because everything about them is disposable and forgettable. And he brought up something that I think is a fair point. If you look up any list of the 100 greatest movie lines, you can't find an entry into that list from after 2010. Maybe 2015. If you look up best characters in the history of film, right? You're not going to get a character entry after about 2015.
Yeah. You can make a case for Avengers Assemble, but it would be it would be the exception, not the rule.
that would be the only line, and that's only a payoff if you're a giant nerd.
Well, if you
I say that. Hang on.
Series, if you hang on, no. If you sat with the whole series for the 10-year arc, because they pointed to it once or twice over the course of the years.
Yeah,
it also helps if you're a comic book fan.
They tease it, but if you don't know that, like, Avengers Assemble is a thing that gets said all the time in comics, all you get is just, Steve kind of says it at the end of Age of Ultron, and they cut it off because, Joss Whedon, isn't he funny? But that's kind of the only one that, like, you really get close to it.
Right. But to that point, why I brought up the Avengers Assemble, and we'll get back to the movie in just a second, that line comes at the end of a 10-year journey, at the end of a 3-hour movie, where every character in the 10-year arc of that franchise runs screaming at an army of death. It's a cool fucking moment that was way earned. The problem with get on with it already, or whatever the fuck it is she says.
What are you waiting for?
Get on with it is something else. What are you waiting for is it's not earned. It's not earned by that character. It was earned when she said it the first time around. It's not earned here. And if you're going to do that, you had to give it to Ava, and you gave it to Hulk Hogan instead. So, like, everything about Jennifer Love Hewitt was kind of fine up until that point. When they did that, I've said this before about a few movies over the last little bit with these legacy sequels, is that they rip them out of the hands of the people this is supposed to be about, and they default to the nostalgia star. And I don't think it's right, and I think it ruins the movie every single time. Now, I have to contractually say something nice about this movie. The people in it are pretty. Ava and Danica are very nice looking girls, and I think they do a suitable job doing whatever it is they're supposed to be doing in this movie. The podcast girl legitimately made me laugh. Like, as far as like character work goes, the way she's behaving, like everything from like the car ride to the bit where they walk around when she finally dies, I don't care if you don't find her funny, and this is more subjective than it is objective. I thought she was amusing. I kind of wanted to just follow her. I'm sad she died as early as she was.
I wanted her to die earlier. She grated on my nerves like.
You and I are not the same.
That's very true.
I was laughing at her. The other thing I had to laugh at was I'm gonna shut up because I really have nothing else to say after I tell you this one little incident that happened in the theater. So there's a scene where Ava and Milo, who is sufficiently beta, are starting to have sex in the house. Oh, jeez,
this scene.
and Ava does my favorite thing. She looks at him with hot stuff in her eyes. She's just raring to go.
Only thing, you know what? I've gotta just bring up.
Yeah.
Watching that scene was almost surreal because it made me think legitimately. How long has it been since a movie like this had a scene like this? Like, you and I have talked about this a lot, that like the death of Eros as a storytelling mechanic has been a real
if
downer.
You think about like the history of slashers, it's always like it is harsh godly punishment for original sin. That's what a lot of these movies revolve around. And then you either remove the sin entirely, or it's so overdone and it loses its impact. And here, somebody remembered that and went, okay, well, we can't just have him have sex. That's too ordinary. We can't not have him have sex because we want to address this. Well, what can we get away with? And we'll have the girl, and what good girl these days doesn't say this to a doe-eyed boy, choke me. And after I got done spitting soda on the chair in front of me, laughing as hard as I did, I looked over at my children, who I brought to the theater, along with my girlfriend. And my daughter, at that point, she had just turned into a lump of clay. She had lost.
Yeah, she doesn't respond well to that kind of. No. She turns into a pumpkin briefly.
Yeah, so she turns into a yam, and I look past her, and my son, doing his best Robert Winfrey, leans over, stares at me with daggers, and does one of these. I'm like, I didn't make the movie. It's not like Snitsky over here. It's not my fault. So that was fun. And then, of course, he can't do it because no man can choke a woman, not even a little. And so he runs out of the room screaming, and then he's killed in the car for his troubles.
Pretty much. But you see, Mark, it's poetic because she has to be choked, and then he dies via strangulation, don't you see?
Yes.
If he'd been, the reality being that if he'd actually just kind of like manned up and choked her, he wouldn't have been out there to be killed.
You don't have to go full rape choke. Just a little hands on the shoulders, on the collarbone here, a little bit of pressure. The girl's happy, and you get yourself a nice time.
Look,
you can't go full order.
Hang on, let me just stop and let me talk.
Yes, sir.
If you don't know what you're doing, it's okay to not go crazy about this.
Mm-hmm.
If you do enjoy this kind of thing, allow me to express to all of you a way to do this moderately safely and without leaving unsightly rug burn bruise marks all over someone's throat so that she doesn't have to go into work with a turtleneck the next day.
This is the best moment of Damn You Hollywood ever.
Because stupid people do the web of the thumb into this and they compress backward. Mm-hmm. It's a really bad way to go about this. It's deeply inefficient. It bruises a bunch of stuff that you don't want bruised. You can use similar to the same grip, but take 2 fingers and thumb, and you just squeeze the carotid arteries.
Yes.
You don't have to, and you don't have to like try to crush a brick with your hand here. It doesn't take that much pressure to get the desired effect of blood flow restriction that gives the mild euphoric high that people are after when they do this. So just don't be stupid. But because this character is meant to be the dumbest, most forgettable milquetoast guy in the world, he's got to go out to the car looking for his charger and talk himself into this.
Thus ruining the mood and the opportunity. Anyway.
You know what? Hang on. I got one other thing about that scene, by the way.
Okay.
When he sits down in the car and he says, what are you doing? There's a way to deliver dialogue that is directed outward versus dialogue directed at yourself. This guy's line reading, yeah, the more you know, you're welcome.
This has been the best podcast I've done ever.
That's not true and you know it. But this guy's line reading, like the direction he was given was, okay, you're talking to yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, I can talk to myself. There's a way you talk to yourself. No. You're talking to yourself, but I want you to talk like you're talking to the camera operator. So his sort of like dialogue directed at himself, trying to hype himself up, sounds like he's talking to another person. It's the worst bit of line reading and acting that I've seen in a minute. Like, it's just so bad.
So, Douchey McAbs. I loved his character because, like, they made him an ape. And they couldn't, like, when Ryan Felipe is acting like an asshole, it's believable and it feels in line with what's going on at the time. Everything that Ryan Felipe does makes sense. And the way that they present Ryan Felipe made sense in the first movie. That's this character here, but it's like, the subtlety isn't a thing anymore, so we have to have him walk around for no good reason with his shirt open. Because everyone must know that he has abs and properly muscled pecs. And I guess there was probably also an argument of, well, we have girls running around half naked, we have to have the guys running around half naked too. There must be something for the ladies. Okay, I have just as much of a problem then too. Like, Jennifer Love Hewitt running around with a half shirt for no good fucking reason bothered me just as much, but whatever. I wanted to point that out, that his character both was annoying but made me laugh a whole bunch of times. What else do you have to say about this movie? Because I'm more or less done. This doesn't deserve much more conversation.
This movie is bad. It is almost irredeemably bad, apart from the unintentional comedy. That's about it.
Yeah.
I already mentioned this, but I'm going to reiterate the point. One of the things that really made the original work was the building of tension and the paranoia between the group about which of We're the only ones who know what happened, so which of us is doing this?
Yeah.
That is utterly absent here. They don't do a good job fostering it. They don't do a good job talking about it. It's just the assumption is made, okay, it's someone else who somehow knows what happened, and we'll figure that out, and then we'll know who's doing this. And it removes one of the key elements of what makes this story, in theory, work. The intergroup paranoia.
When I throw the transcript of this in the notebook elements, they pull the 10 minutes out that I should make into a TikTok. And the TikTok I'm going to get back with the snappy heading is, I know what you did last summer 2025, or AKA how to choke a bitch properly.
Okay.
All right. Anything else, sir?
I mentioned the kills not being very good. Again, Freddie Prinze Jr. just aging poorly, which just amused me to no end. The setup for a sequel. I can't tell you how much I hated that. You and I have yelled about this at this point for almost 10 years. Back to Pan. With when half of the issues with the writing of that movie were very clearly told by the authors or the writers, we'll fix it in the sequel. That was a running mantra, an ethos driving their written word. And then you failed miserably. So you're left with something that's not good on its own. We'll never get the thing that might have made it good, and everyone is worse off for it. Apart from Hugh Jackman, he's the only one who survived that because he's Hugh Jackman. The bunch of children forced to work in the mine singing Nirvana. Yeah.
I really want to move this on.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot else. This is not a good movie. Do not waste your time. Save yourself the aggravation. Nothing about this is worth it. All
right. And with that said, here comes the money.
We're in the money. We're in the money.
You know what occurs to me? I had a similar thing about the choking when we talked about the Batman. Because John Turturro is supposed to be strangling Zoe Kravitz at one point. And his hands are here. It's no, not how that works.
On a budget of $18 million, this thing has made $24.4 million. I mean, at least it was appropriately budgeted.
That's true. That might be its only saving grace.
Only. If only I can't contain myself. As of July 20th, 2025, I Know What You Did Last Summer has grossed $12.8 million in the U.S. and Canada, and $11.6 million in other territories for a worldwide total of $24.4 million. In the U.S. and Canada, I Know What You Did Last Summer was released alongside Smurfs, which also bombed, and Eddington, and is projected to gross $13 to $17 million from 3,100 theaters in its opening weekend. It made $5.9 million on its first day, including $2.2 million from Thursday night previews. It went on to debut $13 million. Excuse me. Finishing third at the box office. All right.
Okay, what we have to talk about here is Superman.
Let me tell the people. Superman retained its number one spot for a second week in a row.
Not surprising.
It had a drop of 54.2.
Which is actually pretty, that's a very reasonable hold.
It opened in 140 more theaters.
So, here's the problem with Superman. Because after they did the big opening weekend thing and everybody got to do their, media sound bites about how great it was. After that is when the actual numbers start to come out. So we have numbers about Superman now. We already know the budget, give or take, $225 million. Now, that's also probably underreported. It's probably $230 at a minimum because they did some reshoots. So I'm going to assume $230 because most movies, especially of that budget, are underreported. Till you get to the financial end of things when you have to legally say to your stockholders what you spent on it. But we're not at that point, so we can all do PR spin. The advertising budget started to be things that were discussed in the wake of its release. Nobody talked a lot about this in the build-up to its release. But when something like Variety or The Hollywood Reporter, which I hold a very low opinion of, but when even those outlets are saying you spent at least $150 million on advertising, it's probably, A, it's probably more. And B, That's a pretty big factor in this thing. So if we do some real basic math here, you get 230 plus 150 gives us what, 380?
Yep.
So double to get to profitability.
Let's, for even numbers' sake, give this thing a total production and advertising budget of $400 million.
Fair enough.
Twice that, in order to be profitable, is $800 million.
Yep. Now, two things have. Now, you might say to yourself, well, you know, it's not like movies haven't had that kind of a thing before. A couple of the different Avengers movies have been about that. You know, the Justice League movie, which lost a lot of money for that studio, was in that boat. You know, it's not good, but it's not a outlier. This has happened before. So the other problem that Superman's running into, and this is, if you think I'm gloating or I'm crowing about this, I'm not. This is a financial reality we have to talk about. If 60 or more percent of your total worldwide take is domestic, getting to 800 million to $1 billion is almost impossible. You want more of your gross, you want more of the total revenue in ticket sales to come from outside the United States than inside.
I'm going to look something up, but I want to point something out to people. The Warcraft movie from 2016 famously bombed in the United States, but it was successful because it had a international total that was exorbitantly high, mostly based on China.
Mostly. Venom was the same way. The first Venom movie did not do well in the United States.
So the budget for Warcraft was $160 million. The box office was over $139 million. That was almost entirely international.
Yep, more than 300 million of that was international. It was ridiculous. We talked about that when we did it. Like, man, that also does kind of contribute to it being more of a money loser because of the split in China not being the same as it is here. But that's a little bit in the weeds.
It was one of those, but it was also one of those things where it told studios early on that if you can get this is why movies got made the way they did for the next 10 years and continue to do
Pretty much.
Why they'll allow movies to be censored in certain ways in international markets because they want them to be open there and they want people to go to them. So like they'll take out gay kisses and stuff like that. Stuff like, you know, I think it's with ghosts. You know, you're not able to do because of China. There's different
China
things.
has a thing about some ghosts. China has a thing where they don't like black people.
Yeah. But
famously not having Finn on the poster for any of the Star Wars movies over there.
Well, there's actually a story going around now that India banned the midair kiss from Superman.
That's a weird thing to get pissy about, but okay.
Yeah, India. What can you do? My point is, studios learned over a decade ago that they have to gear their movies for an international audience. That's famously, it's actually why G.I. Joe is no longer an American hero, but is now, you know, an international superstar on the catwalk or whatever the fuck they called G.I. Joe back when that movie came out. So
International Peacekeeping Organization or whatever the heck it was.
That's what it was. Yeah. They were truly outrageous. Truly outrageous. Anyway, the point is that they were banking on Superman having an international audience. And the fun thing that's come out of all the discourse around Superman, because never mind the stupid Snyder Cut versus, you know, Gunite argument, because that's dumb. And never mind the stupid shit with Fox News, which I talked about last week. That is also dumb. The real news, the real thing that's interesting about Superman is that it's being rejected by international audiences.
Yeah.
Because Superman is a distinctly American thing. It is definitely an American young boy power fantasy. It's what Superman has always been. But there was a time where Superman's catchphrase was truth, justice, and the American way. He was damn near an American propaganda symbol. And while he's been widely accepted as an interesting character, the feel I've gotten from what I've been exposed to regarding this movie has been international audiences, given the choice between the two, are more into Batman than they are into Superman. like Batman has worldwide appeal, Superman does not. So back when they were when the world was different and they were doing a Superman movie, and they had what is it? Not Francis Ford Coppola, Richard Donner direct those movies. They weren't as concerned with international audience, so all Superman had to do was appeal to American audiences. 50 years later, now you have to do a Superman that appeals to an international audience, and this character doesn't naturally do that. And I don't think anyone really considered that until after the fact.
I think they considered it. I think the problem is, this is a weird problem to have, mind you. But by trying to divest Superman from being part of Americana, you actually take away part of his identity in a real way.
Yeah.
I don't need him to be jingoism, okay? I really don't. But when they did a bit in the comics too, where he renounced his American citizenship for a while and was like, I'm a citizen of Earth.
Yeah.
And nobody cared for that either. You've got to understand what you can change about a character and what you can't. If you want to have a bit where he talks about what the American way is now versus what it used to be, fine. But trying to just completely remove it from part of his personality is...
So now he sounds like Epcot Center. Truth, justice, and a better tomorrow. That's almost the catchphrase from the Carousel of Progress.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck are we doing here? So, Superman
so you remove that, and I don't know that there was a good choice to be made here. Let me be clear. I'm not saying that there was an obvious fix for this. I'm not going to address that. But the point being, Superman is most projections now have it kind of petering out at the 700 million mark.
In her defense, she lived in Germany for a while.
Okay.
So I'm guessing she's talked to one or two people.
I don't think it's worth hashing out.
Moving on.
I'm not saying one way or the other. But point being, the most recent revised projections for Superman have it topping out around the $700 million mark.
Which is, look, for the Chris Baileys of the world, that are like, 700 million is a lot of money. Yes. And if I Know You Did Last Summer made 700 million, people would be having sex with farm animals and doing cocaine at Sony. That would be a wild party if this movie, budgeted at $18 million, did 700 million. They'd be making these movies forever.
Yep.
Superman was... I'll never understand why this is such a hard concept for some of our friends and lovers to understand. Movies are budgeted a certain way with an expectation they're going to earn a certain way. When they don't earn what the expected amount is, it's called underperforming. So the fact that you don't outright bomb, but you don't hit the project, this was the problem with Batman v Superman. Yeah. Batman v Superman made a lot of money. It did not do over $1 billion, which is what it was projected to do. Therefore, it is a failure. This isn't. It
did underperform.
That a lot of movies have.
Yeah,
but a lot of movies were projected to. That's why they're budgeted. If you're budgeting your movies at $200 to $300 million, the expectation is the floor is $800 million.
Yeah,
you're supposed to do over $1 billion. The fact that we keep missing that target, we're the ones doing it. The fact that they keep missing that target is really the conversation here. Again, I love Chris Bailey to death, but him leading the charge of it's making money. Shut up, you naysayers. No, Chris, it's not.
Yeah, it's not. That's the problem.
400 million sounds like a lot of money when you're fucking Warcraft. It's not, or when you're Venom.
If your budget was half of what Superman was, then 400 million is a good number.
Now, granted, it's not done yet. It's only its second week. So will it get to $1 billion? Who knows? We're getting into the dog days of summer. School starting soon, and Fantastic Four comes out this weekend.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm landing on this. Look, no one's going to come out. I mean, you and I are going to be the only ones saying that this movie underperformed when it's all said and done, in all likelihood.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you and I, we're the only ones. There will be other people, who do this, who are going to mention that, it underperformed. They wanted $1 billion movie.
Right.
Very, very clearly, that was the goal. That was the expectation. And they're not going to get it at this rate. Something might change. Who knows? But right now, as things are looking, they're not going to get there.
Minecraft hit this target faster.
Yeah.
Lilo and Stitch hit this target faster.
Yep.
Neither one crossed into $1 billion.
There's still a very outside chance for Lilo and Stitch, but at this point, probably not.
Right. If I'm DC and I'm Warner Brothers, the time to have released this was not... Really, the time to have released this was the beginning of May, but Thunderbolts had that spot.
They should
have counter-programmed Karate Kid Legends. And Sony should have fucking just... Sony and Warner Brothers should have swapped that date.
Yeah. That would have been a thing. You know what? You could have legitimately counter-programmed Thunderbolts. Like, that thing wildly underperformed. You would have been fine.
Could you imagine? Well, again, now in a world where Warner Brothers has big, brass, fucking brave balls and says, we're putting our stamp on that May corridor, and they go against Thunderbolts, and nothing else changes, the crowing that could have happened.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, the crowing of Superman beat your new Avengers by himself. The headlines write themselves.
They do.
Like, that's free publicity that you left on the table.
So, yeah, that's kind of where we are with this one. So, neither Mark nor I are, like, gleeful about Superman underperforming, so just please don't take us that way. I mean, because
did Walter Cronkite get this problem? Like, when he's sitting there at anchoring the 6 o'clock news, where people were just like, "You want him to die, don't you? You hate the Vietnam vet." Do people get mad at the weatherman for reporting rain? Because that's what I feel like happens to us. Like
a little bit.
Here we are with the numbers, and this is what the numbers are, and this is why we are saying numbers. And they go, "You want everything to fail." What?
And as a minor note, just very briefly also on that same thing, because a lot of the people, the Snyder bros did if you adjust for inflation, Man of Steel did better than Superman. Hang on, which is true, first of all. Mm-hmm. But when someone's comeback to that is, if you adjust for inflation, then the original Superman clears all of them, we all just kind of go, yeah, that's the point. This isn't a gotcha, okay?
Truth, justice, the American way, baby.
Like, the highest grossing movie of all time is still Gone with the Wind when you know how to properly adjust these things, and nothing's ever going to catch it.
Retaining its spot, the number 2 spot 3 weeks later, is Jurassic World Rebirth. By the way, so I put up my TikTok of our response to it, and I said, I believe the title of it was, "This is a $180 million cutscene."
Yeah.
Oh, the responses I've gotten on that.
I'm curious about that.
Oh, you sweet summer child.
No, I know the internet. Like, I know it's not going to be good, but...
1 second here. So right now, this video has 923 views on TikTok and 14 comments.
Cool.
I really like this movie. 9.7 out of 10.
You're allowed to like it. That's not a response to the criticism.
When you realize the first Jurassic Park was also a fetch quest where the bad guy was a rich guy, that's it.
No. How? No.
Oh, this gets better. From The Dizzle. Known critic of critics, The Dizzle. Everyone thinks there's some intelligent movie critic. Movie is great. It's fun, and it's exactly what you expect from a dinosaur movie. Not much more to do other than what it delivers.
Rewatch the original and tell me again that these movies can't be well written, intelligent, and have something to say about the wider world.
It was not that bad, bro. Oh, he called me bro, so I guess I have to, believe it.
No, you don't. And yeah, it was.
And the last one here, and I don't know why I got this comment. TikTok comments still continue to puzzle me, Robert Winfrey.
Okay.
From Riley TMKXGI from 3 days ago, he wrote a 2-word response to my TikTok.
All right.
Fragile masculinity.
What does that have to do with anything?
I don't know.
Nothing about our review of that movie and our negativity towards it had anything to do with it there being a female lead.
If anything, we were very kind to Scarlett Johansson.
We were kinder than we should have been.
Anyway, I know what you did last summer. Debuted at number 3. This is not good. No, it made it grossed domestically $13 million. There's no way to slice this other than, well, at least it did better than Smurfs. Paramount Pictures, former studio. F1 fell from 3 to 5. How to Train Your Dragon.
F1 up there with Sinners is the highest grossing original movies all year.
Fell from 4 to 6. Eddington debuted at 7. Elio 5 to 8. Lilo and Stitch 7 to 9. 28 years later, 6 to 10. And Mission Impossible 8 to 11. Really, Megan fell from 9 to 12. That's already on streaming. That 18 days. 18 days that took.
Hey, there's an unrated cut, Mark.
Oh boy. Guns N' Moses debuted at 17, and Cloud debuted at 19. Worldwide. Oh, Lilo and Stitch. I take it all back. Lilo and Stitch crossed $1 billion.
Barely, but yeah. You know what? Fair enough.
But it took how many weeks?
A lot. It took a lot of no competition.
Yeah, that was the end of May. We're at the middle of July.
This movie has the success that it does because Disney didn't rush it out of the theater.
Yeah.
They let that one marinate a little bit.
So Ninja still at number 2. Lilo and Stitch currently the number 2 movie in the world in the second movie to reach $1 billion this year. Minecraft 955. Jurassic World is eking up there. It's at 647.
It's never going to catch a Minecraft movie.
Mission Impossible is currently at 588. How to Train Your Dragon is at 580. Well, it took till the middle of July, but we finally have a top 10 that's an actual top 10.
Sort of.
Not giant gaps in between. I mean, the biggest gap here is between Minecraft and Jurassic World.
There's a big gap between 3 and 4.
Yeah, that's the only one, though. There used to be 4 or 5 big gaps in 10 spaces. F1 is at 460. Once again, instead of doing F1, we did Megan, right?
Yeah, we suck.
Captain America still hanging by a thread at 415, and Superman
money loser Captain America, money loser Thunderbolts,
and Superman right in the middle is the creamy Oreo filling between Captain America, Brave New World, and Thunderbolts. Knocking Sinners out of the 10th spot is at number 11.
Superman will pretty handily surpass Brave New World next week.
Yeah. I wanted to see where Megan currently is.
Way down there.
Yeah, number 36 at 37 million, just above the Phoenician Scheme, which nobody saw.
I will see before the end of the year that movie because I like Wes Anderson.
Yeah, you and my son. So that's where we are worldwide.
Hey, that hurts me.
This weekend is Fantastic Four. That will knock Superman out of the number 1 spot.
Almost certainly.
I don't want to get into a big long thing here. I do want to move this on, but I'm getting mixed signals about Fantastic Four. The shills are out, and they're saying it's a beautiful looking movie that doesn't have any action.
You have to learn. You and I have kind of figured this out.
Mm-hmm.
When you learn how to read between the lines of the shills, you start to get the real picture.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that a lot of the early shill reviews of this thing have been, oh, it looks good. That's not actually a very ringing endorsement.
So the other thing that gives me some hope about this, because if you'll remember, before we saw a stitch of footage, we'd all heard that this was the Sue Storm movie.
And that seems to have been confirmed basically by early reviews.
See, that's not what I've heard. I've heard that everybody in the Fantastic Four gets a hero moment. The whole movie feels like it is the shared weight of the team, not just the Sue Storm movie. So I guess we'll find out this weekend. But I'm hearing that it's not as bad as all that.
Well, part of the other issue that I think they've run into is it's reached the point where they had to actually talk about the movie.
Mm-hmm.
So when the Fantastic Four are like, yeah, Galactus will go away if we give him our son. And there's apparently a big time jump in the middle where like the surfer shows up and says your world's doomed, and then she F's off, and then a year later is where we pick up. Like there's a bunch of stuff like that. That's real iffy. I expect it, I'm with you. It's going to be the number one movie of the weekend. The problem it's going to run into, it can't afford to be bad.
Yeah.
It can't even afford to be acceptable. It has to actually be good. It has to be a good movie.
Yeah, this is the thing that's kicking off Phase 6. This is what leads us into the next two Avengers movies.
That have been postponed for another year each.
I said it before, and I'll say it again, and then I'm moving on. I just want the Marvel movies to go away for a while. Like, good, bad, or indifferent. I mean, I want Fantastic Four to be good. I did. Fancy has been trying to encourage me to do series, and I say I have no time for these things. And then I thought I have 87 fucking years of podcasts. I have plenty of time for this sort of thing. So I went back and I took our Fan Four Stick review. I took the Long Road to Ruin on the Fox Fantastic Four movies, and then your Everyone Loves a Bad Guy on Doctor Doom. And I said, make podcasts out of it, make TikToks out of these. Between now, I want to drop one a day between now and when Fantastic Four comes out, with 1 day removed because I dedicated that entire day to catching up on Treme. Don't ask. So, I'm
kind of gonna have to ask about that.
I'll tell you in a moment.
Okay.
So it gave me like 2 weeks worth of TikToks, a couple from each podcast, and I drop one a day. I drop them at like at 1 o'clock. And this is all to kind of get the algorithm to recognize me as somebody speaking loudly and often about Fantastic Four, so I can try to ride that algorithmic wave in TikTok. It is a reminder that between me and you and me and Sean and you and Pat, just how fucking negative we've been about the Fantastic Four. Like, not a single positive thing. The nicest thing I've said about in any of these TikToks about any element of the Fantastic Four movies was The Incredibles was better.
Which is true. For some reason, like that is the best Fantastic Four movie. And for some reason, the actual Fantastic Four movies have, look, when it's arguable that the best one is still the first Fox one.
Or the Roger Corman one.
Yeah, like that's kind of where we are with this. Somehow they've just never.
It's just funny to look back at all the stuff that we've said, and it's like, again, and it's not even like I'm making this choice. I throw it into Notebook LM, and I go, I threw it into Notebook LM and said, here, find the best stuff out of this, and it gives me a segment, and then I give it to Fancy, and I say, okay, make TikToks out of this, and it goes, here's you complaining again, here's you complaining, but with a really funny line. Here's you making a really funny comparison, and here's you saying something else was entirely better. And I'm just like, and I'm releasing them, doing the reads on them and everything, and I'm just like, golly, we're negative people. So, but all of that to say, just once before I die soon, I would like to see a Fantastic Four movie be good. That's all I'm asking. I've been a good boy this year, Santa. Can I please have this?
It would be nice. I mean, it's the notion that like you and I somehow get off on talking about bad movies, like we want things to be bad. Like, no, nobody wants to watch bad movies. We'd rather talk about good movies, but we have to be honest.
It is the lowest insult in terms of like quality and insight when one of our friends is like, you guys are just haters. Really not. I considering the long history of you and I doing this, how many things I've defended. Dude, I invented an entire podcast just to defend bad movies, to find something good about them. I'm kind of good at that. I should have been a defense lawyer. But my point is, for high-powered criminals. But my point is that I stopped doing the segment polls and just started doing TikToks. But by that point, I had never pulled the clips for Treme and all the David Simon stuff. So they'd just been sitting in my queue for a while. And I quickly threw all of that and made TikToks out of all of them. And then I was like, I'm tired of looking at these. They're all going up in one day. And I made the decision before I decided I was going to release all the Fantastic Four stuff.
So the last day before the Fantastic Four, after you've desperately tried to convince the algorithm that your content should be somewhat boosted by it,
yeah,
you're going to throw a bunch of David Simon porn at them.
No, that's all. That happened last week. I did that last week. Like the second day into the series, I stopped doing the series, and just to confuse things, and did an entire day full of Treme stuff, and then went back to doing my normal schedule.
Well, I'm sure that won't have consequences.
I'm doing the same thing with The Bear. I think last night, tonight, and tomorrow I'm going back and doing TikToks on all the seasons of The Bear that we did, just in time for us to review it on Wednesday. I did this with last week with the I Know What You Did Last Summer. Like I'm enjoying this sort of. I'm back to doing synergy, but like my own TikTok-y synergy thing. This is all very interesting, I'm sure, to people who watch our podcast for our movie review to hear my beautiful mind consort with algorithmic whores.
Would have been a better subtitle for this movie.
Algorithmic whores. That's the name of my new book that I'm going to make into a TikTok because nobody reads. And now!
But if you actually write it, then you can put it on Book Talk and someone might buy it.
Not unless there's a hunky man and a tentacled monster having their way with a woman and a Sasquatch.
The title is Algorithmic Whores. You can put whatever you want on the cover and it'll work.
Fair point to you. And on that note...
Are you ready? No! I said, are you ready?
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
Yeah, that's about right.
That's about right.
The tomato meter has a 39% for all critics. Top critics.
How does that go up, you
Who
shills?
wanted to be invited to parties?
The number of people distracted by the hormones is large.
Yeah, really. Look, everyone's walking around with their tits hanging out. This movie's great. All right, so verified audience is 69%, and a negligible drop to 65.
Yeah, 4%'s not wholly negligible, but it's acceptable.
And the AI writes, faithfully,
No.
Robert Winfrey, faithfully.
No.
Harkening back to the original for better or worse.
No.
This, I Know What You Did Last Summer, swims nakedly and reboot serves up plenty of nostalgia without finding a compelling hook of its own. Do you get it? Compelling hook? Do you get it?
Yeah, I get it. There's
Do you get it?
How much nostalgia is actually present in this thing? I mean that in all sincerity.
I don't know. I'm just going to ask you one last time. What are you waiting for?
That's a fair question.
Nick Johnston of Vanyaland. Instead of fully bogging down the movie with echoes of the prior installments, Robinson opts for a stylistic evocation of the era, preserving the rhythms of the 90s genre well.
No. There's no tension in this movie. People, I beg of you.
The future ex-Mrs. Robert Winfrey, Perry Nemiroff of Perry Nemiroff YouTube, top critic. The new I Know What You Did Last Summer rocks a stellar new core ensemble, and there is some praiseworthy narrative ambition, but few of those storytelling big swings work, and its killer reveal is a total bust.
That's accurate.
Yeah, it wasn't even worth talking about in our review. That's how meaningless it was to me. Lane Mills of Geek Vibes Nation. The fisherman may know what you did last summer, but so long as you don't see this movie this summer, you should make it out alive. Hurt, Dick.
You know what? Fair.
Boo.
I'm not a fan of it, but he's not wrong.
Alrighty. What's love got to do with it? What's love but a second-hand emotion?
Please stop singing.
Elliot Collins of Movie Files. I swears, the writers must have watched hours of TikToks that transcribe the comment section.
Yes.
Directly onto the script page. Every line felt like a desperate attempt to sound relatable. Hello, fellow children.
Indeed.
Resulting in one cringe-worthy scene after another.
Yes, he gets it.
Dan Murrell, you monster, of Dan Murrell Reviews. A big ball of nothing, attaching a familiar name with a couple of familiar faces to a tired formula in order to wring few dollars out of my wallet. In an era where franchises like Scream have been able to make a comeback, that's a real shame.
Yeah. You know, I'll go along with that.
Amy Nicholson of Los Angeles Times This Week, former paper.
This woman desperate to be invited to parties.
Robinson seems to respect the first film as though she was adapting Proust.
No.
Perhaps to people of a certain age who grew up watching it on VHS at slumber parties, it is their Madelyn.
Okay, this is a protest review, I'm fairly certain. Referencing Proust in a review of How Have I Know What You Did Last Summer 2025 is the most pretentious of things you could possibly do. And I've been known to stick my nose in the air once or twice.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, that feels like a mating call for you.
No, Proust was not be the one that you should use.
Local sack of potatoes, Travis Hobson of Punch Drunk Critics. Nostalgia is what I Know What You Did Last Summer is hanging its hook on, Dirk, and there's nothing wrong with having a soft spot for it. Ugh.
Yeah, there is. Don't give in to nostalgia.
It's weird that, like, I can't even say his things are written by AI because even ChatGPT isn't that bad.
At this point, yeah, most large language models wouldn't churn out something like that.
In the backseat. Jeremy Johns of JeremyJohns.com. Just feels like more of the same. Deeply unhelpful.
Yeah, that's an unhelpful pull, and don't get me wrong. You know what? You know what the other problem with this movie is? It changes the wrong things about the formula. And then, so it looks like it should feel the same as the original, but everything that they changed has these like horrible knock-on effects to make it just forgettable, uninspired, unintentionally hilarious crap.
From Robert Winfrey's harem, Carla Hay of Culture Mix. Look, if Superman can have a harem, why can't Robert Winfrey? That's what I'm saying. There are some plot holes.
I'm going to choose not to be offended.
Making a Superman joke.
Sure you are.
I am! I forget about the other stuff. There are some plot holes, and you should take that as a compliment that I hardly remember what your religion you actually are and what the jokes about it are. Because I don't see you that way. I don't see religion, Robert Winfrey. There are some plot holes.
I know that's not true. You don't see my religion.
And the murder mystery is easy to solve when the body count increases. Most horror fans will find something to like about this reboot sequel.
No.
It's not enough to save a movie full of recycled ideas and unanswered questions.
As part of the horror fandom, no. You do not speak for us, ma'am.
Memories. All alone in the moonlight. I don't see any of our... friend of the show. Good for... Oh, my God. Oh, my stars and garters. William Bibiani of the Rap Top Critic. Logic be damned and be gone. Everything about the new I Know What You Did Last Summer strains credulity until credulity breaks open and spills fake blood and candy everywhere. And that's for the best.
You know what? I think he had your... Hang on. He had your experience where he went into this like a parody, like a Mel Brooks movie, and he had a blast.
Yeah, I was going to say either that or he is completely given up.
Well, that's about 50-50.
And Dan Baer of the Aspirin Bear, also next best picture. Only when the returning cast members are on screen does this feel like it's living up to its potential. Oh, bullshit.
No, they don't actually do anything of use.
That's sad, but it's also the film's only real reason for existing, so fans of the franchise might be satisfied.
That's accurate.
Oh, boy. Well, folks, this has been another edition of Damn You Hollywood in the Books, the Rock and Robert experience. Just catching up with my girlfriend's comments here. You like the word whore? I do.
It is your third favorite word.
It is. And how much nostalgia is present? Not enough. That is also true.
That is also very, very true.
Other things that are true this week. It is the month of July. But outside of that, this Wednesday, like I said, myself, Alexis, Andrew Graham, and David Wright, who invited themselves on this podcast, by God, will be reviewing The Bear Season 4 and all 100 hours of the wedding episode. And then Thursday,
You're just real bitter about that.
dude, I was trying to get an episode in on my lunch break, and I had to watch it in chunks because it was so goddamn long.
It's not that long. It's just slow.
That too. On Thursday, myself and Sean Comer will be turning to the wrong road to ruin. I'm so tired.
That's going to get you in trouble with the baby metal fans. There's a throwback.
There it is. She's a painkiller. Well, the painkiller here is the Ocean's trilogy. Shut up. Myself and Sean Comer will be reviewing the Ocean's trilogy, 11, 12, and 13. You might be asking yourself, but wasn't there a fourth one? No, we disavowed that. Ew, girls. On Friday,
that isn't okay. Hang on. I'm gonna save you from yourself.
Yes, sir.
The fact that it's an all-female cast is not why that movie is not very good.
That is also true. Myself and Jesse go back to sessions. This time, this is at track 10. This is Rattledge and Broadcasting Bingo.
Bingo.
Inspired by We Didn't Start the Fire by Billy Joel.
We didn't start the fire.
It was always burning when the world was turning. We didn't start the fire. Sunday, after I do jazz hands. Sunday. So, I don't know, like, some stuff you pay attention to and some stuff you don't. Do you remember Robert Winfrey when Jesse and I would do the Metal Hammer of Doom extra? Mm-hmm. And I took him on a tangent that took like an hour extra recording, much to my ex-wife's chagrin, where we were trying to find the movie that had the song in it, No Big Deal, and it had the kids playing dodgeball, and one of them runs directly into a pole and shatters his face. Well, I was inspired by that conversation and the drugs I was taking at the time. So,
did you find the movie?
I did.
What was it?
So it's Bad Boys, 1983, The Basketball Diaries, 1995, and Over the Edge, 1979. This is the troubled youth-focused triple feature. I cannot wait for this. I cannot wait.
How does Ma qualify?
No, it's Basketball Diaries. I'm just screaming.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, not that. Not Ma! Not that movie.
But you made the same sound in the same way. You must understand my confusion.
I do, because it was Basketball Diaries hyphen Ma.
Yeah, no, I got
you now. Ma!
Leonardo DiCaprio angling for his Oscar early, and he would only have to wait 3 decades.
You gotta give me some money, Ma!
Look, he would continue with that level of glorious emotion until we arrive at Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, when I famously remarked to his breakdown at being told you can either make Italian westerns or stay here and continue making crappy movies until you fade into obscurity. And his response is to break down, and I said, I think, Mark, you reacted with more stoicism when you were told you had cancer than he did to the state of his career.
Nice. Anyway, so my overacting or imitating Leonardo DiCaprio aside, yes, we will be doing a triple feature. Myself and Jesse.
The fact that he has more than once done the Ma bit.
Mm-hmm.
This one through a door, but the other one in What's Eating Gilbert Grape.
So yeah, the Bad Boys, The Basketball Diaries, and Over the Edge. That's Sunday. We'll be back with Fantastic Four on Monday. First steps. I think on Tuesday, Wednesday, a week from Wednesday. I'm being forced by Harry to do something called Scenic City Invitational on the Indie-Siders because I don't.
Good luck. You know what? I know what you and Chris Bailey should talk about next when you talk comics.
Yeah, I mean Jesse.
No, you need to invite Bailey on for this one.
Okay.
Supergirl's romantic relationship with her horse.
Amazing. Speaking of banging a horse.
Which is a real thing, by the way.
Speaking of banging a horse, a week from Thursday, we'll be doing the Naked Gun trilogy on the Long Road.
Yeah, you're darn right we will.
Alrighty. That's all my plugs. What do you got going on? See if you can do it in less time than I did mine.
I usually can. Don't say it. You almost said it. Don't say it.
Ma! sorry.
I cover mixed martial arts and professional wrestling over at 411mania.com. WWE SmackDown on Fridays, UFC events on Saturdays. This last Saturday was UFC. Sorry. I've had a thing in here for the last
This is. I just want that to be the name of it now. Last night I covered UFC Patui.
UFC Hawk Tua.
Woo!
I'll save that for another episode, for another one. I will use that in the future, though. Given the prevalence of meme coin bros and whatnot in the space, I could have done it. Anyway, covered UFC 318, which was the retirement fight for Dustin Poirier. He and Max Holloway had a really good fight that didn't get fight of the night because the UFC would rather reward mid-tier middleweights having a bar fight than an actually good MMA fight. So my full report for that can be found over at 411mania.com. It was a decent event all the way around. I also waxed poetic about the career of Dustin Poirier on the 411 Ground and Pound MMA podcast, which I did way too early in the morning today, technically, because insomnia ain't that fun. So my ramblings at about 3 a.m. About Dustin Poirier retiring, the rest of that card, a preview for UFC on ABC 9. They're in Abu Dhabi. Headlined by Robert Whittaker versus Rainier de Ridder. And logically, Robert Whittaker should win that fight, but I feel like the MMA gods are pushing us towards the Three Stooges style fight that would be Dricus du Plessis and Rainier de Ridder fighting for the UFC middleweight title. Why did you make that face?
I want this to be over.
That's what she said. So you can find my full preview over there, again, at that podcast. And yeah, next week, the Fantastic Four. I just want it to be better than the Four Stick. I really do.
Well, I want it to be better than a Four Stick is the phrase that pays here.
We really should have called that movie The Four Skin at some point, but I don't think we ever did.
Well, then.
It's that bad, people.
For the foreskin, Robert Winfrey, I'm loud.
Shut up.
That was a comment. I didn't put it up on screen, but that was my girlfriend's comment from like the next room. She's like, "God, you're loud. I can see why your patients can hear your children in the next room." True story.
Yep, you have thin walls.
Yeah, and skin. Be well, be safe, and behave.